Hey, what up everybody? It's your favorite Asian robot, and one day I'll hopefully be your favorite Diablo 4 content creator. In this video, I wanted to present an alternative to the mid-game Barbarian build, which I presented yesterday. The reason for this is that I made a recommendation yesterday during that video where I suggested that skill points wise, that once you have mastered the two-handed sword expertise, you should shift over and use bash, okay, as your basic skill for fortification, right? Because enhanced bash states that when you damage a stunned enemy with bash, it grants you 10% base life as fortify, and you double this amount when using a two-handed weapon. This is not a lucky hit chance, so ideally when you're damaging a stunned enemy, you should be hitting for, you have a 20% chance when using bash to fortify. Unfortunately, when I actually did practical testing on this and used it during stream, the overall result of fortification and how quickly I fortified ended up far below expectations. This is one of those situations whereby, and this has happened with other builds, like some of the other builds, like people have, and I will be doing a separate video on lucky hits, but some people have mentioned things like, oh, well, there's only a 5% probability of this if you take into account how all the lucky hits stick together. There's only a 5% chance of this effect occurring, and I'll tell them, well, yes, actually, there's only a 5% chance statistically, but the actual results, the actual practical results, show that because maybe due to the number of hits or the number of circumstances that can trigger said lucky hit, it happens more often than normal. This is the opposite scenario where you have a 20% chance effectively with the build, but you don't seem to get any real fortify out of it. To be fair, it only seemed to stack up well on elites and bosses, and in those situations, it still wasn't ideal because it was still too slow. So I'm actually here to present an alternative to what I did yesterday. This alternative style, okay, is closer to the whirlwind style because I find that it builds fortify semi-decently and also takes advantage of the power of shouts, which have several legendaries that can, help you use them better. All right. So what is this alternative build? Well, I'm just going to go through it really quickly because it's not too drastically different from what we had before. Leap and ground slam are just replaced by two shouts instead, and the build itself still functions as intended. Let me go through it now. Lunging strike, enhanced lunging strike, combat lunging strike. By keeping a lunging strike instead of bash, you get a lot of mobility because you can actually just dash to targets. This is very, very important because when you're fighting as a barbarian, you are a melee character. Bash does not do this, so I was counting on it to fortify me quickly to take advantage of, damage while fortified and other useful stats that would basically propel the build to higher levels even if I was sacrificing mobility. I found that that was not the case during my practical testing, and going into the late game, I felt that this mobility from lunging strike was far better. That and the effect of berserking is pretty awesome. And the fact that it can trigger while doing this gives you an overall damage buff that bash doesn't have. So that's something to consider. All right. Although bash had the guaranteed stun, like I said, it just wasn't significant enough to actually help me. Okay. Hammer of the Ancients remains at 5. Endless Fury remains at 3. Rallying Cry is still taken. Imposing Presence is still taken. Outburst and Tough as Nails is still taken. This is just to ensure that you always slow targets. Just remember that that is the key, right? Instead of Ground Stomp, you now replace it with Challenging Shout, Enhanced Challenging Shout, and Tactical Challenging Shout. This is to build Fury, and it's also very useful against hordes. You draw them all in, and you start, building Fury like really fast while also building Fortify really fast. Okay, something to consider. Warcry is taken in place of Leap as a source of fortify. Okay. What I will say here is that you do lose one Fury builder. So previously you had both Ground Stomp and Leap as Fury builders. Now you have lost Ground Stomp, but it's replaced by Challenging Shout, which is a Fury builder based on hits, and also a Fortify builder. but you've lost Leap as a Fury builder, and Leap was quite major. So just be aware that you will build slightly less Fury with this build than you did with the previous. But other than that, you do gain Berserking and more damage and healing from that. All right, so this is an alternative way to heal. You do, however, have to lose Swiftness because there's not enough points for everything else. Okay, coming down to the Weapon Mastery, again, we don't take any skills here, but you will take Thick Skin to fortify quickly. I plan on maxing out Counteroffensive, all right? Pit Fighter and No Mercy must be taken. Later on, this can be substituted out for more Imposing Presence if you need more max health going into the later stages of the game, but I leave that up to you, yeah? Here, we've taken 2 extra points, but Invigorating Fury will be dropped later on, and points will be put into either Counteroffensive or Imposing Presence. The reason why I had this was just to see how I would survive without Invigorating Fury, yeah? Instead of Call of the Ancients, we now take Wrath of the Berserker. Why? Because it is an insane Fury generator, and later on you'll want to specialize in Berserker because you have this as a source of Berserking. You have this as a source of Berserking, so you can make use of aspects that also use Berserking. So for your ult, you may as well take advantage of Wrath of the Berserker, which gives you Berserking as well. Alright? Last but not least, you still take Unbridled Rage as your key passive, because you're trying to put the smackdown on with your Hammer of the Ancients. Alright? Okay, now that we've gone through that and you understand it, the rest of the stuff is still the same. Technical expertise, still two-handed sword expertise. Alright, the gear that I talked about in the previous video, if you want to check that out, all still the same. Okay, nothing is really different other than my level. And in order to prove that this works, well, we will go directly into the Capstone Dungeon at level 46, because why not? I feel that that would be the best way to show that this works. Alright, enemies 4 levels above us. I think that should be fine. Okay, heading on over. Now, I will probably cut the video here so that I can show the combat clips when I'm actually in there, and then I'll, of course, show the boss fight as well. Alright, as we always do. Thank you very much for watching this video. Normally, I wouldn't do an update like this, but the reason I had to present this alternative was because I felt that if I just left the previous build there and people followed my advice and went with Bash and got disappointed later on, I didn't want that to happen to you guys, because as I tested it, it just did not go as well as planned. And unfortunately, sometimes these things do happen because I had a plan, but I needed to get my technique done first. And upon finishing it, I went straight into that plan and it flubbed. So I do apologize for having to do this video today. But anyway, I hope it is helpful to you. Okay. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you guys would like to support us, you can do so via a channel membership. And of course, we always thank our channel members for supporting the channel every month and just keeping us running. All right. So here's a thank you to our top channel members. Starting right at the very top at Plus Ultra with Death Dawning 982. We've got Jerry Fast, Rogue Assassin, Old Mr. Green Buff, and Zach MG at Prestige. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to all of our Honor Robots as well. Mookie Mocha, Rena, The Mighty Zeno, Chase Taylor, Scuddy, Nathan Strong, Sabingu, AKJ, Lady Neo, Bob John, Joey Danze, A. Ripley, Darverse, Che D12, I'm Peeps, Syed Assad, Tuan Gwen, Coda CMF, Kami SMH, Conrad C, Nate the Great, Corey Ryu, and Benjamin Savage. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to all of our cool and weird bots as well. I promise I'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Enjoy the combat demonstration. Okay, are we live? Yeah, okay, great. So we're now in the Capstone Dungeon, and as always, I will demonstrate how this build is played. So the rotations are a bit different to the previous Barbarian build, where it was just very simple, straightforward, you know, dash, bash, no thought required. This one, you have to think a bit. The good part is that even if you're using this, you can actually switch it over to a Whirlwind build later on if you want to build that. But you can, if you don't want to, that's also okay. So how do you use your shouts? Well, I will usually open up with Challenging Shout if there are multiple opponents, right? This is to start gathering fury. Then, of course, I will use my War Cry to buff my damage. And lastly, I go into the Rallying Cry, okay? So that's usually what I will do. Rallying Cry and War Cry should be used mostly to deal with elites, whereas the Challenging Shout is used mostly to deal with normal enemies. Alright, so there's a bit less sustain in this build because you build up Fury slower. But you can build up more Fortify, so that's something else to take into account. Getting hit is a great way of getting Fortify, aside from the fact that you can also use your Warcry to build it up. Alright, in more dangerous fights, this is a great way of building up everything, which is very helpful too. If I see an elite and I really want to, you know, beat it down, I will automatically use Wrath of the Berserker along with Rallying Cry, which together makes for very devastating results, okay? And this is pretty much how to play in a nutshell, alright? So this is the basics. If it's just a single guy, of course, we can just bash him down. You have plenty of damage, plenty of stuns with this, but without the, like, you have a lot easier time building up Fury, alright? So you can... Sorry, correction. You have an easier time building up your Fortify, so you can take advantage of the damage reduction faster. You see, which is what I really like about this. Gear-wise, you'll still be using Thorns up until the late game, where you'll be switching over to the crystal that gives you, I think it's Sapphires, that give you damage reduction while Fortified. Alright, but ultimately you need to build your Fortify constantly and keep it high. You do this through your Warcry, and you do this through your Challenging Shout. So don't hesitate to use them both. Alright, Wrath of the Berserker is on a minute cooldown, but it's fairly fast. Alright, use it well. Dash to your targets, give him a whacking. Alright, and don't hesitate to use your Challenging Shout as well, even against elites. I mean, it's more for dealing with general targets, but the reason why you don't shy away from using it against elites is because, quite frankly, you do get damage reduction from it. So it's a great survival tool, not just for the healing that you get, but overall, it's pretty good, and you should take advantage of that, okay? Fortify is crucial because having it above 50% allows you to trigger counteroffensive, which is the next thing we're specializing in. Don't sleep on the damage increase from that. It is crucial. The range of your Challenging Shout is also pretty awesome. So you can use that to really gather people far and wide and take advantage of all the buffs, alright? That is basically what I do. It gets even better when you get the aspects and the skills that help you cool down your shouts really fast. And of course, if you get the affixes that give you cooldown reduction as well, all of that is really helpful, okay? You can use your shouts anytime to heal, but I use them mostly for combat. Potions drop frequently enough, and you do have some sustain from your shouts. So, all things considered, I may just drop Invigorating Fury as I don't see the value in it. May go for another rank in Heavy-Handed just for the extra crit damage. Yeah? But that is all planning. I will test it thoroughly as I go into the late game. I just wanted you guys to have this option because when I tried Bash, the fortifications were so low that it did not seem worth using and giving up the mobility, because don't forget, with Lunging Strike, you literally dash and bash. It saves you a lot of time in combat that you don't normally get, and that is something that I think is very crucial that a lot of folks miss out on as well. See, because of the way that I heal so easily, I'm not afraid to take hits while I have Challenging Shout on, which is really epic, and it also helps me build the Fortify. I keep saying Fury, but I mean Fortify. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I think there's also an aspect that makes you unstoppable when you shout. I can't remember exactly, but I do believe that something like that is the case. As you can see, this allows you to take full advantage of Hammer of the Ancients, dishing out massive criticals. Now, it doesn't matter that the enemies are level 50, you know, you're not going to care. I had somebody do this with the previous build at, I think, level 44, and the amount of bleeds that you can cause simply because of having two-handed expertise as your technique, two-handed sword expertise, I should say, is pretty awesome. So, you know, go ham. Feel the thunder and the lightning. Alright. The only crucial bit of legendary gear that you're going to need is, as I mentioned before, the Hammer of the Ancients Quake Outward. I'll cut it here, and now I'll take you over to the boss fight. Yeah? Okay, are we live? I made it to the boss fight, yeah? So I'm going to open up with Berserker, obviously. And we'll start by taking on the Lord Commander. I'll go for the damage reduction. Gonna hit him hard. Building up the fury to spend. So I'm not really too worried on how much damage they're doing because they don't seem to be doing all that much. Okay, Lord Commander is done. Devoted Champion is about to take it from me. I'm gonna use the Rallying Cry again to boost my fury generation. Okay, he got smacked down. Oh, Lord Commander's back. I suppose this is the Sacred Precision. I think he needs to suffer first, so let's put the smackdown on him. I mean, see, even if they run, the great thing about this build is not just how easy it is to fortify, but, you know, you just build up so quickly. It's so nice. Oh, they all got stunned, huh? Okay. Well, those are level 50 bosses dead. Oh, and I hit level 47 too. That's nice. Yeah, okay. That is it. So, yeah, put the smackdown on your enemies. Easy peasy with this build. Hope you enjoy it. Okay? Catch you on the next one. Okay, so I totally forgot that there's 2 boss fights. So I decided to show the additional one. But I forgot that those first guys aren't the only bosses. So here we go. Here's my fight against the curator as well. I totally forgot about this guy. I was like, and I tried to exit the dungeon like right after finishing off the Knight Commander and whatnot, and I totally flubbed it. I was like, why can't I enter World Tier 3? I thought I was having a bug, but you know, this is what happens when you record when you're tired. Oh well. The things I do for my living. Okay. Fortify is such a beautiful effect, and I love it. The additional damage reduction. You are awesome. Thank you, my dear sweet damage reduction, for being amazing. Whack. 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 All I literally pay attention to is not even the target. As long as I'm hitting the target, it's fine. I just literally pay attention to my health and my fortify. That's all I do. Okay. That's it. So yeah, that's the other boss fight also done. Although this one, unfortunately, I was only 3 levels of difference, so not quite as cool as 4 levels, but here you go.